herd these people in two different ways to get their desired results. They know that the Republican voting base is more than likely going to be well-meaning, and they're going to be more skeptical about things. So that takes them a longer while to now be convinced of something else going on, or something else new, or something that might contradict their worldview. They're going to question it more. So it takes longer for them to get the upgraded firmware. The left's just going to fall in lockstep. That's how they operate. So it's going to take the right longer to figure this shit out, and they use that against them with these abusive tactics. It's like, once we finally figure out that we're getting fucked by the GOP, well, now they got to move the line, and they got to hit them with the lesser of two evil thinking again. And then they prey on their moral conscience. They say, they make them make this decision of, I'll take not as bad versus potentially bad, please stop being a false idol and ruling over me. Like, instead of taking that risk of taking back your freedom, they decide to go with the least stressful route, which is, we're going to choose the lesser of two evils. So I keep hearing this lesser of two evils argument. I heard it from Crowder, and I'm just like, dude, get it already. Why the fuck is it so hard to get? Why do we have to, like, how much more plain can I fucking say it? Both sides are against you. And they use different tactics for each side because they have to, based off the sophistication of the voting base difference. It's very simple. Look at fucking Ronald Reagan's administration. Some of the biggest government overreaches. Look at George Bush, another Republican. Some of the biggest government overreaches. And now, in certain respects, you're seeing them use that same tactic with Donald Trump. All of these things that we're supposed to do in favor of voting rights or this rights and that rights, it's going to come with a big government sticker under the guise of we have to do this. And then when it gets used on us in 20 years, the Republican voting base is going to take a while to see it. And then all the fucking people frantically shouting and screaming like me, Tyler, Ron Paul, and some of these other types, well, if Ron's even alive, but you know, in 20 years. But like, we're going to be screaming like this, and then people are going to tell us that we're grifters or that we're feds. And it's like, no, look, this. And then when it finally happens, it's too late. And the Johnny-come-latelys who just realized the score of the game are going to assert all their fucking power. That's just how it works. And we have to somehow navigate around this. We're all feeling down. We're all feeling lost. And, you know, if everything ends up being okay, they're going to be like, wow, look at you, doom and gloom. It's like, yeah, well, you have to call things out when it happens, man. And sometimes it causes a course correct, and that's great. And that's something else that they'll use on the truth seekers in the future. If you sound the alarm on something because you notice patterns and then things actually kind of normalize, then they're like, see, you're just an alarmist. That's the type of propaganda they use. They don't want you to actually examine everything that goes on. They don't want you to be vigilant on things. So they will point out somebody who's being vigilant and on the ball, and they'll be like, see, he was too jumpy. No. You have to call this shit out in the moment. You have to. It's the only way that they move anything. If that wasn't the case, then why would the left always make these threats against big corporations on Twitter? They're calling it out, pushing the line. You have to do that. This is what you have to do. So when you see something, you have to say it. You have to say what's going on. And a lot of people just want to hold their tongue. The old guard of the Republican Party and the people who think like them, when they see something wrong, they just sit here and they make a lesser of two evils choice. The people like me on the America First wagon, or whatever you would want to call it, when we see a problem, we call that shit out. And therein lies the difference with me and most power structures. A lot of people you know and love, they will see something bad happening, and they will sit on their hands and wait for the aftermath to come. When I see something bad happening, I say it. I point it out. And I meet resistance a lot of the time. Because the charlatans don't want people to notice at things like that. They don't want you to notice these things. That's why they need the right and they need the left. Because they don't want people to notice this shit. They use isms too. People are fucking tired of that shit. And they don't even know it. But they're going to tell you that we got to vote for J.D. Vance in this next election because communism might win. And it's like, you just look at the last 60 years, it's like, what the fuck has a Republican ever done to even remotely slow the spread of communism? They've done nothing. In fact, they use Republican administrations to administer some of the biggest overreaches. That's all that's ever happened. What have they done? Nothing. So if you just let them get embarrassed in the next election, again, I know you're going to refer to me as a Fed. I don't really care because it doesn't really matter to me if the Republicans win the midterms or lose the midterms. It really doesn't matter to me. Look what we've gotten with a Republican majority. Like, nothing can even get done. Mike Johnson puts all these leftist, he puts all these Democrat things in the House. He doesn't force, he doesn't do what he should actually be doing because he's working within the system. You know, he could have brought all these people back there and made them stay there to reopen the government, but he's playing this political game. He wants to go on his vacation too. They're not doing what they're not serious. If we had actual like liberty-minded people in there, they would be fucking sacrificing themselves for their constituency and staying there all fucking day because that's what they got elected to do. These people don't do that shit. It's not for the people by the people. It's for them by themselves. So let one of them get embarrassed and let the left kind of go, you know what, maybe we don't need the Republican Party anymore. Maybe we could just have our own single monopoly. We don't need them anymore. Why are we going to bother to split our pie if they're not even holding up their end of the bargain? You know, maybe they held up their end of the bargain too well. They'd be like, listen, they're not even getting these people to even participate in our system anymore. They're not getting them to give us any pushback. So clearly they're not needed anymore. This Republican Party is no longer necessary. So the Republican Party will have to make two choices. They'll have to make an alliance that they might not want to make in order to keep their power. So that means they would have to start capitulating to us in some sort of way to appear useful again to the other part of their equation. And if you looked at the history of this country, every time a new political party started, that's basically what would happen, is a percentage of the people would join this new party, and then 4 to 8 years later, that party then fuses into the party it split from, or there's a faction of that party that fuses into the other party. So this is how you actually this is how you have to learn, you have to manipulate the power structures, because it's come to my realization that these power structures will always be here, no matter what form of government you have, no matter what type of society you have. These power structures will always be here. As a human civilization, we always get ruled by these types. So it seems like it's a pattern at this point. So this is just a constant of the world that we're in. This is a constant that these types of people would obtain power. So what's the equation to now keep them in check so they can live their pseudo-celebrity lifestyle? They can feel like they're royalty or whatever the fuck they feel like. But on the surface, things are actually being done for us. So we allow them to partake in their Game of Thrones. But we basically say, you better do this or else your kingdom will collapse. And that's what we have to do to the Republican Party, is we need them to feel like they're about to collapse and that they're useless and they're not needed to the globalist power structure. And those selfish pricks are either going to... Because there is no falling in line if you're deemed unnecessary. If you're deemed obsolete, there is no falling in line. So they would need to appear useful. And a way to appear useful would be, well, we're going to have to get these people involved. Again, how are we going to get them involved? We're going to have to give them something. And that's that type of fucking balance that you have to keep doing. Because I don't see any other way outside of... Even if you have a revolution, how often does a revolution spark the type of change that's necessary? It doesn't really do that very often. We got very lucky with the American Revolution. Look what happened with the French Revolution. French Revolution is where everything is headed. And that's not a good thing, because the French Revolution was co-opted immediately. Once they succeeded, it was immediately co-opted. You see, this tactic of destabilization and funding radicals leads to radicals being in charge. There is no... if you're just funding radicals and there's no actual power structure behind the radicals, then that's exactly what you get every time. You get these, this is what the big problem that's happened in the Middle East in the last 60 years. It happened to France during the French Revolution. You get the crazy people on the ground who typically are given their marching orders by somebody, but if there's nobody giving the marching orders to them, then they're in charge. And that's the worst. So if we're going to have any type of revolution, there needs to be a plan. And you see what happened with our founders is they set up an actual plan, because you need a plan for when things collapse. And if society collapses now, we don't have a plan. But the founders had a plan. They had a plan. You know, they everything that was going to go wrong, they had to take into account. They started to develop their own centralized, in some form of way, centralized government. And when shit hit the fan, they were ready. And then it goes to them, and then they give fake credit money, which is not real and backed by nothing, and that goes to us. So they give us all the fiat, and then they have all the fucking luxury and the wealth. So, like, that system is monumentally a bigger drain on the taxpayer than the random illegals coming here just to. But because they're not going after the violent ones, bro. They're just not. Because there's a whole bunch of them in Texas that they can't get because guess what? They got guns, bro. They got guns. They don't want to be shot at. Nobody wants to be shot at. It's just the reality of everything, man. What are we supposed to do? So my solution is to make one party look completely pathetic and weak and make them collapse. I mean, what happened when Ronald Reagan won the election so big? Man, the left sure turned around after that one, didn't they? Holy shit. They sure turned around because their voting base, that's why their voting base is so radical now, because their voting base realized this trick. This neat, easy tricks to make sure your politicians do what you want them to do. And that's what they're doing, right? This faction on the left, the radicals on the left. I mean, some of the radicals on the left, you could tell that the left isn't happy about. You know, you could tell. You know, and it all seems to come down to that one international country that if you support it or not, then that fucking destroys your platform. Basically, it's crazy. It's crazy. There's a good chance Kamala Harris lost the election for her opinions, her position on Gaza and Israel. It's crazy. But that's what the radicals start to realize, is that they hold the power. All it takes is about 10% of them to put real pressure on the political parties. So the left does it all the time when it comes to big corporations. They do it all via their politics. They'll complain about these corporations and then start using the political pressure that they have on their party to push them more radical. They use that, and then they make these things called DEI laws. So what they do is get their politician buddies to pressure their corporations, so the corporations feel like they need to listen to the politicians, or else the people will no longer support them, thus losing money. So now that's what the Republicans got to do in response. That's what we have to do. We have to fucking put that type of pressure on our politicians. Everyone's just too nice, and they're too forgiving, and they go, but my Republicans. No, you got to show them that we hold the fucking cards, not them. It's like an abusive relationship. Fuck that shit. He gave us hope. He gave people hope. But there was no complete detanglement from the Republican Party. So now that we've experienced hope without the detanglement, once we detangle, we're going to be skeptical on trusting anybody. That's going to make it difficult. Now we got to get people to train themselves on to when to recognize when to trust a politician or not. And if we could do that one, we wouldn't be in this fucking situation. So we're back at square one. So what we can do is well, you don't want communism to win, do you? It doesn't matter, because it's just you're gonna give the government centralized power anyway. It might not be in the way that you think you're gonna do it in, but it's gonna happen. That's just what's gonna happen. It's not really about people being smart or dumb. It's about the globalists are taking advantage of our nature. They're taking advantage of, and who do you think do I have to go back to the other cam? Fuck it. I mean, who do you think set it up? Who do you think set it up so that they need to have two incomes in their household? Who do you think set it up to where even having a two-income household is not enough? Who do you think set it up to where the property values doubled after that and all of a sudden it's impossible to own a home? Who are the people who set this fucking shit up? It's like, seriously, who stands to benefit from all this? The big businesses and the people who set the shit up. We set all these regulations. Doesn't hurt fucking Amazon. Doesn't hurt Walmart. Doesn't hurt fucking Google. But it hurts fucking the mid-level corporations. It fucking crushes them. It fucking crushes them, and they do it under the guise of fairness. They do it under the guise of fairness. And then they crush their competition. Who starts it? Is it fascism is it businesses imposing their will on the government? Is it the government imposing their will on the big businesses? No. They're doing it together. They're doing it together. It's like a schoolyard bully. And then the bully runs to the principal, but they don't know that the principal and the fucking bully are working together to get your lunch money. Because you just think of the reactions and the things they say to you and you go, there's no way this could be happening. But that's what's happening. That's what's happening. Of course you think the principal is going to be your friend more often than the school bully. Of course you just want to have hope that he's going to be there and do the right thing. And sometimes, to keep his cover, he might do the right thing. That's what our political system's like. Two evils. So if you want to get back to this point quicker, we have to just disengage from the system. You can't keep having this back and forth, John McCain and Mitt Romney almost win their elections type shit. That's only going to hurt us more. It's just easier if we can get to that bottom point first, so we can then get somebody that we're going to fucking, they're going to say crazy things, and we're going to go, I'm convinced he's going to fucking do something. We need to get back to that point so then we could push the party forward. We missed the opportunity. And while this shit is still fresh in people's minds, it'd be great if we can get back to this point quicker. Instead of waiting 25 to 40 years. If it could take 10 to 15 years, all this information might be fresh in a lot of people's minds. And then we can then capitalize and go forward. And we can get some of that fucking tug back from the party so that we can actually get something done for us to push in the opposite direction instead of always going this way. You see what I'm saying? Do you at least understand where I'm coming from with all this shit? I'm not just saying random things. I'm trying to break this down like a fucking social scientist here. This is what has to be. This is what has to happen. Every time throughout history, guys, a fucking charismatic person, a charismatic leader comes along and they help either they push it in the direction that it needs to go because the people are willing it and they're taking advantage of that. This is the cycle we live in. We need to manipulate the pieces around us. We have to be like Muggsy Bogues on the basketball court. You are not going to dunk on people, but you can sneak up from behind them and steal the ball without them seeing because you're so fucking small. That's what we have to do. We have to start manipulating our politicians and the people in charge. What could we do to get them to pay attention to us and to make it feel like that they're doing something that's good for them, but it's actually good for us? That's what we have to start doing. We have to start doing that. We have to start realizing that we're always going to have these fucking power situations in society. We're always going to be ruled by these fucking weird, stupid motherfuckers that like to have ridiculous sex parties. We have to accept that that's what we're going to be ruled by because that's what we've always been ruled by. The kings and the queens have all been incestuous, sick fucks. We've all been ruled by these people for our whole fucking lives. So it's just going to be that way. How do we make it work to our advantage? What can we do? Well, I'm giving you some solutions for once. Everybody always calls me black-pilled. I'm giving you fucking solutions. These are solutions. These are things that can work, and they have to work. You have to do them because just involving yourselves in lesser of two evils will get nothing done.